Hey everyone, it's Sandy Peckinpah joining you on this Tuesday. Ooh, it's hot in Southern California. I didn't expect it to be so hot today. It was like 90, my goodness. So I am joining you live on this day to talk to you about the creative in you, the writer in you. I had the most joyful experience this past weekend and I want to share it with you. And so we're going to start this conversation about how is a writer born? Are they born or is it a commitment? Cynthia, for you, it's a commitment. I was just saying, how is a writer born? Is it talent? Or is it a commitment? Or is it both? Or is it something that is developed over time? We don't know until we dive into it and give it a chance to grow, right? So thanks for the heart, Cynthia. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so I am going to now dual broadcast because I'm going to put it on Facebook too. So hang in there and I'm just going to go live on Facebook. Hey everyone, it's Sandy Peckinpah on Facebook Live joining you. I am dual broadcasting today. We're talking about writers, but really anyone who has a desire to be creative. And so I'm broadcasting on Facebook Live here and on Periscope here, but talking to you, my wonderful audience that joins me night after night, And thank you, Cynthia, for the hearts. For those of you who have never been on Periscope, there's a wonderful thing that you can do. If you just tap the screen, it puts up hearts and it sends them up in a rainbow of colors, and we gather those hearts. And what it does for the broadcaster, me, is it makes me feel really good that I've hit home with a comment, or that the subject is good, or they agree with me, or just that they like what I'm talking about. So anyway, I'm very, very happy to have you join me today. And we're talking about the creative inside of you, because we all have it. I mean, people say, oh, I'm not talented. And that is like nails on a chalkboard for me, because everyone has talent. Everyone has creativity inside of them. Otherwise, kindergarten wouldn't focus on painting and clay and butcher paper with big, splotches of paint, or playing with popsicle sticks, or making, sock puppets. I mean, every single one of us does have a special talent. We just have to develop it. So how is a writer born? I can tell you exactly how, because it seems to happen in my family a lot. Now, what happened with me is that I happened to marry a man who had a desire to write. But I can tell you that when we first started together writing, he had never written anything except for a poem. But what that poem did was it woke up the writer in him, and he was about 18 years old. We got married at 22. I remember walking on the beach with him and saying, what do you want to be? I mean, have you thought of a career? Because at the time he was going to college, and then he was also a volunteer fireman. But neither of those things seemed to satisfy his spirit, the creative inside of him. And he said, what I really want to do is write. Well, interestingly enough, his uncle was a very famous film director. And his uncle fell in love with the poem, that one poem, and said, David, I'm going to pay you money to write a script from a book called My Partner, written by Max Evans. And I want to see how you do on that. Well, that was a pretty glorious thing that happened, because we had just spent 2 years. He was writing a book, a Western, and we got $1,000 advance on it. And we both said, wow, we can't raise family on $1,000. So what are we going to do now? Well, thank goodness, our beautiful, his uncle said, you know, I want you to try your hand at writing a script for this book. And what a beautiful opportunity it was for us. Hey, Anne. Oh, and Kurt is here too. Welcome. And Diane, welcome. I can kind of see your names. I'm not sure I can see the comments because I'm on a phone on Facebook Live, and on Periscope, I'm on an iPad, which is a little bigger. Hey there. How are you? Judy, so glad you're here. So, we're talking about creativity if you've just joined us, because some people just limit the ability to wake up the creative inside of them by saying, I'm not talented. Why? Because people in their early years, suddenly creativity was graded. It was graded, and it stifled so much creativity, so much possibility in all of us. I mean, I can remember writing a paper and getting a grade on it that I wasn't expecting. And if I had said, oh, I must not be talented, on this day, I could not claim that I'd written 4 books and had a Huffington Post contributor. So I am so grateful that I didn't let a teacher or a grade ever stop me, and that I continued on. Now, does a writer have to be a good student? No. My late husband was a terrible speller. He could not spell. That was part of my editing job. I had to go through it and help the spelling, because when we started, there was no spell check, believe me. And so the very act of him continuing his writing journey ignited his desire and his confidence as he continued on. And it was literally one poem that started David's career and went on to be 26 years in the entertainment business in a very big way, very prominent way. And I am so proud of him. And I'm proud of us, because we created a life around it and provided for our family. And it was just, for me, it was a very, very beautiful time in our lives, and we can look back at that moment that we both committed to our creativity, and you can do that too. I'll tell you, sometimes I get scared too, because when my first article was accepted at Huffington Post, I thought, oh, it's got to be a fluke. They're not going to accept my article again, because it took me a long time to get accepted. And I thought, oh, I wonder if it's going to happen again. And so I submitted another article, and literally the next day, it was accepted again, a second article. Well, my courage got squashed. I don't know what it was, but I thought, okay, I'm 2 for 2. And so I'm not going to submit a third article. Well, I realized how ridiculous I was being. Thank you, Cynthia, for the hearts. How ridiculous I was being. Even if they didn't accept it, it was still going to be a good article. It was an important article. It was an article for parents who have lost children. And what I wanted to do was give this article to the world, whether it was in Huffington Post or not. I was going to put it on my blog. And so, hey, Wayne, welcome. So the joy for me came in writing it, because when you wake up the writer in you, there's a huge joy that you feel when you've written something that you know is good, that's going to make a difference. Now, is writing good in the beginning? No. The gold comes in the rewrite. Always. And so when I wrote that third article, I thought, I'm 2 for 2 at Huffington Post. Am I going to get a third one here? Well, I decided I had to break my fear and step forward and submit that third article for couples who had lost a child. I forget how I titled it, but it was, surviving as a couple when you've lost a child. And I submitted it, and sure enough, oh my gosh, the next day they promoted it. And my heart soared because I feel it's such an imperative article for parents who are struggling with loss, things that I wanted them to know. And that's an important part of your creativity. Who are you putting it out there for? Who is your reader? Who is your viewer if you're writing for movies? Who is your audience? If you're painting, who is the person that's going to go into the gallery and buy your painting? Or who is it that you're giving your paintings away to? Not everybody has to earn money doing what they love. That is simply not a requirement of being a creative person or validating your creativity. I want to put an end to that right now. Because there's this big thing about people saying that, if you're doing what you love, that then you're going to make money at it, that it's going to be, your life calling, your life purpose. But guess what? I know for sure that you can be doing what you love and not have it be your primary source of income, and that's okay. I'm a business professional. I love my job as a real estate agent. And I know for a fact that I am a writer. I am a good writer, and I am very proud of being a writer. Does writing make up for what I earn as a real estate agent? No, not right now. Maybe someday. I don't know. All I know is that I need to take the next step, and the next, and the next. There's a writer that I absolutely love. I follow him because he talks about writing. And he says, it's Jeff Goins. He wrote The Art of, Cynthia, help me out. The Art of Work. That's what it is, The Art of Work. And he's a creative. He's a writer. He speaks to writers. Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia was one of the launch team for that book. And so anyway, Jeff Goins says, start writing. If you don't, all you're doing is waiting. Now, isn't that a great quote? Don't you love that one, Cynthia? Cynthia, by the way, for my Facebook Live people, is on Periscope. She says, I'm so excited for his next launch. The next book is another step up. Yes, I signed up to be on his launch team for that too. Did you? I bet you did. I'm sure you did. Okay, so Wayne, gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure I can read that, but I'm going to read all the comments after. So Jeff Goins again says, start writing. If you don't, all you're doing is waiting. No, I haven't read the book yet, Cynthia. I think it came in my email today, and I haven't read it yet. It's phenomenal. Okay, good. Another book to share with all of you. So, Jessica, there's one of my writers. Now, for those of you who don't know, I often coach writers who have always said, I want to write a book. And so last weekend, and Jessica is one of them, and I often talk about her, and I talked about her last weekend when I partnered up with a client and a friend. She asked me to help her write a book. In 6 months, she had a book published in hand. I'm so proud of her. Shavana is a therapist, a licensed therapist, and we did a workshop last weekend called Right to Heal. And I can tell you, it was such a big success. I am dancing. I am dancing around my house saying, thank you, God, for giving me the courage to take the step that I wanted to take, and that is to guide more writers, because I've already done, I have 4 coaching clients right now that are writing their book, and 3 last year that already have published books. So I'm really, really proud of them. But I said, what's the next step for me? Well, it's being able to help more people with this desire. And so thank you for putting Shavana in my life, universe, because she said, let's do it together. Well, there's nothing better. If you don't have the courage to do it yourself, there's nothing better than just partnering up with somebody, right? Jessica says, so thankful for your encouragement and inspiration. Oh, my dear, so thankful that you called me one day and said, help me, I'm writing a book. Jessica's book, My Pulse, His Will, was published last year, and I'm so proud of her. Written about the story of the loss of her husband and how his heart went on to another man. And I'm so proud of you, Jessica, because she is making a difference, and that's huge. So I wish I could see what your comment is, Wayne, but I'm sorry, I can't read it because it's too light for me. And but I'm going to read all your comments at the end. So how do you begin? You make a commitment. Because talent isn't just inspiration. Talent is commitment. Talent is commitment. And there is my beautiful, talented son, Trevor, who is one of the most talented artists I know. He's even had a gallery show in Los Angeles. I'm so proud of him. And his love of art brought him to the point of commitment that he has created some real masterpieces. And was it talent or commitment? It's both. Because I can tell you that you might get inspired, but unless you follow through and practice and practice and practice, it's not going to get better. There are those chosen few in life that are people who just are born with this. I swear that they get it from the universe and they can suddenly do something that is phenomenal. Well, those people are rare. Hemingway developed his style. F. Scott Fitzgerald developed his style. They didn't write these brilliant novels when they were 8. They wrote these brilliant novels over a period of time, developing their talent before they sat down to write their masterpieces. And I can tell you that my late husband was the same way. That David started with the one poem, Old Bill. And that one poem gave him the desire to continue as a writer. Oh, honey, let me see if I can read it. Hey, Mom. I'm having trouble reading the white text, sweetheart. I'm going to read it. Isn't that the best? I love you, honey. That's the best when your son watches you on Facebook Live, right? Isn't that the best? Hey, Derek, that's a fellow realtor in my real estate profession. Hey, Derek, I'm just talking about creativity. I'm talking about a commitment to your creativity, and creativity comes in all forms. It is not just for the arts. It comes in the form of being committed to your business, so much so that you have a creative spirit that can launch your career. When you look at Steve Jobs, he had a vision. His vision was to create a phone that was not just a telephone, but a life experience. It was something that could be used as an office, basically. Something that could be used in life to replace some of the things that are so hard to do. You know, we all carried around the big old Franklin planners. Oh my gosh, I did, and I got shoulder pain from it. I still love the Franklin Planner. I don't use it anymore, but it was one of my favorite tools when I first started real estate. But now everything is in my phone. I don't have to remember phone numbers. I have an app for my fitness routine. I have, all of my calendar. Well, all of those things had to come from somewhere, from Steve Jobs saying, I want to create a life experience. And that's exactly what he did, was create a life experience. And that's how we have the iPhone. So what I'm saying is that creativity is not just about the arts. It's not just about painting. It's not just about writing or photography. It's about your life. Your whole life should be lived in a creative way. That's what makes life wonderful. Just wonderful. You wake up excited when you live a creative life. I start every day with a ritual and a commitment to my creative life. I wake up early. I personally read the Bible. That's my thing. If you don't read the Bible, read inspirational books. Whatever it is for you, it's important that you create a ritual. And my business coach said to me, when you started your creative ritual, have you changed it over the years? And I thought back to when I started my ritual, and it was 2009. I am so glad I did, because my morning ritual woke up my creative life. I had stalled in my creative goals, and in 2009 I committed to a morning ritual. And she said, my business coach said, have you changed it over the years? And I can honestly say no. Why? Because it works. I do a ritual every morning where I recommit to a creative life, and I commit to my goals during the day. I read the Bible, I meditate, and I write in my journal. Those things give me, it's only about 10 minutes. It doesn't take that long. And I promise you, it is life-changing. Rituals lead to habits. Habits lead to productivity. Productivity leads to completion. For me, writing is sitting down, writing, rinse, and repeat. There's a writer that said, you know him well actually, because he wrote Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin. And my son Trevor will know this, because we had George R.R. Martin over to our home many times for dinner, because George was one of the writers on a show called Beauty and the Beast, which David was supervising producer and writer on. And George R.R. Martin said the greatest advice that he ever got was to sit down and write and then finish it. And I think that is such a great quote, because how simple is that? Sit down and write and then finish it. Your actions today are essential for your tomorrow. Cynthia loves this quote. Isn't that a great quote, Cynthia? For those of you who don't know, I'm dual broadcasting. So Periscope is here, Facebook Live is here. My audience on Periscope has been developed over a period of 2 years, and I have done over 350 shows on Periscope. And so I am loyal to my Periscope followers, because they've been with me practically the whole time. Yeah, it is, Cynthia. It is a great quote, and it's so simple. It's so simple. Sit down and write and finish it. You can use that for anything. If you make writing a habit, you'll get it done. because that's how things happen. When you create a habit, 21 days, all you have to do is do it the same thing 21 days, it becomes a habit. I did my morning ritual starting in 2009 for 21 days, and now I don't live without it. I even do it on vacation. It's an important part of my life. Begin what you hope to begin today, and it will change your tomorrow. Because if you keep putting it off and saying, someday, it won't happen. Someday might not ever come for you unless you have a commitment. And that is the most important lesson I can teach you, is that your talent, your life is all about your commitments. So that is my broadcast for the day. Thank you, Facebook Live. Thank you, Periscope. I am so grateful that you have joined me, and especially that I got to see my son join me on Facebook Live. And I want to urge you to keep your creative life alive. Oh, Jessica, I adore you. Thank you. And thank you for joining me. And I will be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock as usual. And I'll see you then. I'm going to turn off Periscope right now.